What's your favorite thing to do when it's cold? Hi, this is Kim with Mom's Creative Moments. Welcome back to my channel. I hope you've had a marvelous Merry Christmas or Happy Hanukkah or whatever holiday it is that you celebrate at this time of year. I hope it's been a marvelous season for you. We are 1 week away, not even a week away, a half a week away from a brand new year, and I'm super excited. Today we are going to bring you a fantastic project recipe. And just in case you're in one of those places in the world like I am today that is below freezing in temperature, I think we woke up this morning to 23 degrees, which, I know there are places that are way colder than we are here in Utah. But you have to understand, for the last 2 weeks, our low temperatures have been 45, 50 degrees. Those have been the low temperatures. This has been a weird winter season, beginning of winter season. So to wake up this morning to 23 degrees, it's chilly here. So we're going to do something tropical today. It's going to be great. Let's check out my workspace and we'll get started. Oh, also, before I forget, I just want to mention to you, I am going to be doing one of my sketch challenge events beginning in February. So be watching for the registration for that. It should be out soon, but I'm trying to wait until at least January gets here before we have you do that. So probably next week is when you'll see the registration information for that, and it'll be here on my YouTube channel. It will be on my Facebook page. It'll be in my VIP group. It'll be posted to Facebook in as many places as I can possibly get it so that everyone will know. And I hope that you'll share that information with your friends too, because I would love to have as many people as possible be a part of this so we can start the year off with a bang. Okay? Thanks so much. Let's check out my workspace and we'll get started with our warm and wonderful tropical project recipe today. All right, so earlier in December, we came out with Tropical Garden, and I think it was a fun nod to those members of our scrapbooking community who don't live in our hemisphere and are experiencing their summer right now. So a really nice collection, beautiful collection for tropical vacations. I have friends who escape the Utah coldness by going to Hawaii at Christmas. So, these are perfect opportunities to use a collection like this. Although for most of us who stay home and enjoy the holiday season in colder temperatures, this is not necessarily what we would be looking for at this time of year. This is perfect for those of you who just came home from one of those retreat kind of vacations, or you live in a tropical climate, or a warmer climate like California or something. Tropical Garden does have a designer paper pack as well as a tone-on-tone paper pack, and it features all of these colors, which typically, if you are familiar with the CM paper packs, we usually get about 5 bubbles of coordinating cardstock up here, and this one has 7. So there's quite a bit of color in this, and you won't be disappointed by that by any means. You do get a matte pack, and the matte pack has everything from the bright colors and comments, titles, and things like that to mats that cut apart. Let me see if I can find a couple of those to share with you. There's one you could possibly cut that apart. You could cut this one apart. You could cut that one apart. This one. These are designed to be cut apart so that you can utilize a smaller comment or title on your page. So super fun and neat to have those mats. Then we've got all of the embellishments in the embellishment pack, which I attached to the back of my title page just so that I can really see what is available in the embellishments. So these are our choices for the embellishments. You can see you've got 2 different palm tree sets, you've got 2 different plumeria sets, 2 different sets of leaves, 2 different sets of palms. You've got just a lot of matching or coordinating pieces where you can use the same one to balance your embellishments if that's what you choose to do. So we'll get a bit more into this towards the end of our layout today, but just wanted to share with you a little bit of what's available for this collection. These are the stickers in the sticker pack, and very vibrant and beautiful. As you can see, they all match the color palette and really have you feeling that tropical vibe. Loving this beautiful flower chain. It reminds me so much of the Border Maker cartridge that came with this collection, which is super cute. And I thought I had it here handy to share with you, but I don't. But it resembles these flowers right here in a chain, and it's very, very cute. So if you don't have that, you might want to look into it, because there aren't any other Border Maker cartridges out there that resemble that. We also got this cute border punch that we're going to use today, and this has this cute little hummingbird and a flower or 2 that connect the cute little hummingbird. So we're going to do some fun things with him today. So that's going to be fun and exciting. If you buy the Buy It All bundle for this, which I think is still available. I meant to look before starting this recording and I didn't. But if you buy the Buy It All bundle, you get this project playbook that comes with it and is pre-designed with cutout pages and other full color illustrations of layouts, and is a very, very useful and bit of inspiration to help you use this collection to its fullest extent, which is also a fun thing. This is the paper pack, but we're not going to go through that just now. We're going to launch into our project recipe for today. If you're not familiar with project recipes, I just want to take a second and explain what these are. Each time we come out with a new collection, Creative Memories has advisors who have been asked ahead of time to be contributing advisors, idea contributors. And so each time a different one will have the responsibility of designing a project recipe for that collection. And then it's given to all of the advisors that are out there. It's one of the perks of being an advisor. If you're interested in being an advisor, I would love to have you join my team. So let me know, and I will be happy to get you all of the information about doing that. But one of the perks is that you have access to all project recipes all the way back to 2016 when we started doing project recipes. And the project recipe is unique because it gives you everything you need to complete a 2-page layout. Instruction-wise, you get a full color illustration of a completed 2-page layout. You get a sketch that shows you and is color-coded and alpha-coded so that you can compare that to the cutting guide, which I'll show you in a second. You get step-by-step instructions at the bottom that walk you through how to do the layout, what to do first, second, third, 15th, whatever it might be. On the second page, you get a cutting guide that tells you specifically choose one designer paper and cut it out like this. Choose a second designer paper, cut it out like this. Choose some cardstock, and in this case it tells you use Deep Orchid solid cardstock because that was designed to go with this collection, and it is gorgeous. It's this color right here. And then it also gives you a list of all of the papers that or tools that they recommend that you use, and optional tools or products that they recommend you use. And then down here, it also gives you the sizes of the photos that you'll need to add to this layout to make it exactly the way they show it here. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't always have photos going the direction that they show on these project recipes. But that's okay. You don't have to keep them oriented the exact same way that they are here. Sometimes in a project recipe, it is nice to keep them the same way that the designer created them. But sometimes you can alter them the way you need them to be. So whenever I create one of these, if I don't have photos in mind already, what I will do is attach my mats using a tiny bit of repositionable adhesive, and that way I can pop them off and turn them the direction I want them to go, or rearrange them as I need them to be, depending on the photos that I need to put on those pages. Okay, so just an idea there. Again, with the project recipes, I'm doing something new this year, and if you're interested in joining me, let me know. I would be happy to incorporate you into my plans. I'm doing a project recipe craft night or class once a month, and so on the third Thursday of each month, I'm having my croppers come to my workshop, and we're going to do 2 project recipes a month, and I'm providing them with a kit of a variety of papers, enough to do their project recipe, and I'd be happy to mail that out to you if you're interested in joining that group with me. And then that way you would not necessarily have to purchase all of this in order to get a 2-page layout with this collection. So think about that, and if you're interested, let me know. I would be happy to get you going with that and send you a kit, and then all you would need is the tools to put it together. But if there's something that needs to be pre-punched, I could certainly do that for you too. But anyway, I digress. So let me know if you're interested. We'll work out the details, okay? So let's go ahead and take a look at what I've got here. I've got permanent repositionable adhesive. I've got my multi-purpose tool, which I always seem to need. I've got 2 designer papers I've chosen to be my base sheets, a piece of the that Deep Orchid solid cardstock that we came out with to go with this collection, and 2 more different pieces of designer paper to be cut. So we're going to cut these top 3 papers, and the bottom 2 are going to be our base sheets that we're going to build our pages on. Let's start by cutting our designer paper number 2, which is going to be my green striped paper here. It has these cute flamingos on the back, but I'm going to use the green stripe side for the purposes of this layout. The first thing we're going to do is I'm going to use my 12-inch trimmer, and I'm going to cut a 6-inch piece. By the way, have you heard that CM is coming out with a new trimmer that will be 6.5 inches this way? So we won't have the problem of not knowing where 6 inches is with the brand new trimmer that's coming. I'm so excited. So anyway, but we're going to cut this at 6 inches. Start there. We're going to use this 6-inch piece. Then we're going to take the remaining 6-inch by 12-inch piece. We're going to turn it, and we're going to cut it into 3 mats that are 4 by 6. So I'm just using the top shoulder of my trimmer and measuring to 4 inches. And of course, whenever I say that, I always shift and then have to readjust. Okay, so we're just going to cut 3 mats. And then I'm going to take those mats and just set them up here in front of me so that I can get back to them later when I'm ready. All right, then we're going to take our deep orchid and we're going to do a couple of things with this. So first off, we're going to cut 2 pieces that are 12 by 1/4 inch. Now I hear the groans already. Yes, that is really narrow, but if you cut it first, it's easier, and here's why. Because you can move your cardstock to the very edge of your gray cutting mat. Do you see how I've moved my plum colored cardstock all the way to the edge there of that gray cutting mat? And then I'm going to close my arm, and that's going to give me a 1/4 inch piece if I go ahead and cut that. But I've got the edge of it right up against the shoulder of my trimmer down here, and that's because I've got so much of that paper right up against that straight edge of that shoulder. It's going to keep my paper nice and straight. It's going to allow me to put equal pressure and cut that, and it'll be nice and perfect and a 1/4 inch all the way down. Do you see that? So nice. Okay, so we need 2 of those, so I'm just going to scooch my paper over and we're going to cut another one. A 1/4 inch can be a little tricky too, because sometimes the edge of your paper interferes with the steel arms of your trimmer arm. And so when that happens, I just hold my paper down as much as possible all along the edge, and that keeps it from hitting and wanting to shift out of the way. Hopefully that helps. Okay, so then we need a strip that is 4 inches. So we're going to come over here and measure to 4 inches, still keeping my cardstock as much as possible up against that shoulder. We're going to measure 4 by 12, and then we're going to turn this and measure at 6 inches to cut this in half. Okay, so then we've got those 2 mats that are going to go up there. Now we are going to do a couple of things. So first off, we are going to take and let's address the elephant in the room. Hello, elephant. Okay, so first thing we're going to do, next thing we're going to do, not first thing. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to use our punch. Now, the reason this is a little bit more of a thing this time around is because you have to do something specific and a little different when you are punching with this punch for this design, okay? It's not the punch that's tricky, it's the design that is a little bit different, okay? So we're going to start by going ahead and punching, using our punch. We're going to start it, I'm starting it on the left-hand mark. If you've never used a CM punch before, look at this video. I think it's probably over in this corner. And it will explain to you how to use a CM punch. And then you can come back to the video you're currently watching and jump back into the rest of this. But we're going to punch this twice. Okay, so we have 2 that are going this direction. Okay, then we're going to punch the rest of them going the other direction. So I punched it twice, I flipped it over. Now I'm going to start again at the start mark down here, and I'm going to punch the rest so that they're facing one another. I hope that makes sense. we want our birds to face each other. Okay, so here's one, and then we're going to punch 4 more. So I'm going to flip it over, and so I get a straight edge because I was off just a tiny bit with one of those. And we're going to just punch this going 4 times. So there's our 4 cute hummingbirds. I'm going to grab my scissors and I'm just going to go ahead and trim this off. Okay, so now we've got our 4 extra hummingbirds. Then we're going to cut a 4x6 and we're going to cut a circle. Don't put your punch too far away. We're going to come back to that in just a minute. Okay, so cleaning up my space. I'm going to grab my trimmer real quick. We're going to, actually, I'm going to wait and do that in just a second. Let's cut our circle first. I'm going to cut my circle first. That way I don't have to worry over trimming into my space I need for my circle. Okay, so I need the blue CCS cutting blade. Okay, so we'll set those just over there. And I need the smallest circle pattern, which is right here. All right, so we're going to go around the outside of the circle to make a 4.5-inch circle. Now, if you have the means of making a 4.5-inch circle and you don't use the CCS system, then by all means use whatever circle system you have, just so long as you get roughly a 4.5-inch circle. But I have literally never seen a means of cutting a perfect circle that is as easy as the CM custom cutting system. You can cut circles, ovals, all kinds of different shapes with this system if you have the different patterns that will allow you to do so. And they're handy for many, many, many reasons besides just making a circle. But anyway, I hope that you have those because they are very handy and they will make your scrapbooking journey super, super fun and easy, much easier. Okay, so we're going to take the remainder of this cardstock and we are going to cut a 4x6 mat from it, an additional 4x6 mat. So this is just extra. I'm just going to set that aside. I've got that cut at 6. Now I'm going to turn that and I'm going to cut it at 4. And put that additional mat right up there. Okay, now the only thing left to cut is our floral paper over here. So I'm once again going to just put my trimmer away for a second and grab my floral paper. I apologize because normally I try to do everything I need to do with my trimmer all at once for you so that you don't have to constantly be taking things in and out of their put away status. But this design is not really conducive to letting us do that. So unfortunately we are sort of hampered, I guess is the best word I can use. We're required to follow and do with this what we have, with what we have. Okay, so we are going to punch 1 row of our hummingbirds, but again, this is going to be punched slightly differently. Okay, so We're going to punch it twice. And let me just make sure that I'm doing this right, because I want, yeah. Well, both sides, we generally only see 2 of our hummingbirds, but I think that's it. I think it'll be fine. So we're going to do 2. We're going to punch it twice with our hummingbird facing to the right on our beautiful plumeria paper. Okay, then we're going to flip that over and we're going to punch it the remainder of the distance. So 1, 2, 3 more times from this side, the yellow side. This paper is just so pretty. So now we've got a similar piece to that other one that we punched, but we only do 1. We only punch 1 time with this one. Okay, so let me grab the punched confetti and we'll get that off the table. Now the remainder of my sheet we are going to cut. So I'm going to once again pull my trimmer out. We're following the peach designer paper number 1 instructions up here. I need a piece that is, let's see, all of these need to be 10 inches long. And so just to make sure, I'm going to go ahead and measure this out to 10 inches and make sure that I have a smooth edge, because it's just going to be easier to manage if I do that. So we need 10 inches, right? Yeah, 10 inches. So we're trimming about a 1/2 inch off, saving that to live to scrap another day. All right, then we're going to use this by turning it back so our 12 inches is going horizontally. Again, I need a 6.5 inch piece, so I'm going to go ahead and, since I have my arm already extended, we're going to cut the 6.5 inch piece. Okay, and then I'm going to move that over and we're going to cut at 4.5 inches. And then the remainder of this is 1 inch, and mine goes just a bit over 1 inch, but I'm okay with that. So I'm going to go ahead and pull that good. All right, sometimes you do get a little bit of a variance in the paper size, and sometimes you get a variance depending on the way that you have cut your paper. So if you cut just before the measure line, or right on the measure line, or just after the measure line, all of that's going to affect how your paper is laid out and the cuts that you make. Again, this is just a review for those of you who always do these. You already know this, but anyone who's new, and this is sort of the beginning of the year, almost. So I just thought I would take a minute and explain that that's why if you're getting a huge variance and your last piece that you cut is maybe not as wide as you want it, or maybe it's wider than you want it, then it could be because you're cutting before the line or you're cutting after the line when you're measuring. Okay, so just be mindful of that and be careful of how you're measuring and how you're cutting, and your cuts will become more accurate. All right, so we've got these beautiful palm printed pieces that are going to be our base sheets. And right now I'm going to focus on, actually, just for now, let's come back to our borders that we punched. We're going to do a little bit of playing with them. Okay, so we're going to, we've punched both of our pieces. Now we are going to trim them. So I'm going to put this underneath here for a second. We're going to pull out the floral or the yellow sided border that we've got. We need to go ahead and cut, and I'm using this trimmer because it's just easier sometimes for me to grab. We need to cut a piece that is going to be, let me just double check. We need a piece that's going to be 5 inches, and we need a piece that's going to be 4.5 inches. So this piece at the beginning here is going to be 5 inches. I'm going to line it up on my trimmer. Make sure it's flat. And let me just double check and make sure I'm following the right instructions. Trim piece A, which is this piece right here. Trim piece A to 5 inches and piece B to 4.5. Okay, so 5 inches. And then that's going to be the piece on this side. And the piece for that side is going to be 4.5. And I'm going to want it to be my hummingbirds that are facing the opposite direction. So I'm going to flip it over so my hummingbirds are upside down. Okay, and I'm going to make sure everything's nice and flat, nothing's buckled. Okay, we're going to cut that at 4.5 inches. Notice that it just clears so that I have almost a whole flower and I have 2 whole hummingbirds. And these are for the right-hand side. Okay, and this middle section is extra. You can hold on to it or you can cast it into the bin, whatever makes you happy. Okay, now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to come over here and repeat this for our cardstock bits. Okay, so the first one again is 5 inches. 5 inches. Okay, that one's going to go there. And then we're going to take this piece, flip it over so that our hummingbirds are facing that way instead of, well, they seem to always be facing that way. But so we're flipping it over and we're cutting this piece at 4.5 inches. And I need to line it up so it's nice and straight using my shoulder. Okay, and there's that bit. That bit is extra. Now the remainder of our punched piece, we are going to use to make our hummingbirds 3-dimensional. Okay, so that's going to be a fun addition. I'm going to get my precision point scissors, which are stored on the back of my trimmer. Here they are. I have my holiday ones around here somewhere, but these I know right where they are. So I'll just get those. And I'm going to use these and I'm going to separate out my little hummingbirds. Now, on the sample on your page, on your directions, it has us cutting the hummingbird, cutting this wing so that all you have is this top bit right here. But the hummingbird's wing is this whole piece down here. So I'm not sure, I don't really understand why they've cut it off. So until I understand that better, I'm not going to. Okay, so I'm just going to cut along the tail that's connected to this flower. So I cut along the tail and made that straight. And then I'm going to come in here on the top bit, and I'm going to just follow the curve of the wing and make 2 little scallops. Okay, so that's not very much of a curve, but somewhat of a curve. Can you see that? All right, and then I'm going to come up here, follow the curve of his tummy, and I'm going to just cut straight underneath his bill to connect those 2 sides. Okay, so I'm cutting out these 4 hummingbirds that will look just like that. All right, so I'm going to do that for the rest of these cute little hummingbirds. All right, so there are our 4 hummingbirds. And like I said, we'll investigate when we get a little closer how exactly or why maybe they chose not to cut them out so that they're whole. I don't really understand that. But I will figure it out so that you know what I know. Okay, so for now, I'm just going to set that aside. That's for the right-hand side. Or sorry, the left-hand side. This one's for the right-hand side. Let's go ahead and build our left-hand page. Okay, so you can orient your fern however you want it to be. You can see that it changes as you rotate the design. We are going to use piece D, which is the shorter, yes, the 4.5 inch wide part of the plumeria that we cut. So this one is the 4.5 inch. And we're going to place that centered on the center edge. Okay, so decide which way you want your plumerias, if they're growing up or down or sideways or however you want them to be. I think I'm going to have mine going this direction. All right, so then I'm going to grab my permanent adhesive, and I'm going to go ahead and add my adhesive just a little bit. It goes a long way with this adhesive. I'm going to take this and we're going to center it. We're going to do that by taking our mat that we're working on. And if you're not working on a quilting mat like I am, a self-healing quilting mat, that's what I have. If you're not working on that, hopefully you have the CM 13-inch mat, because those will definitely make it easier for you to do your centering and a multitude of other things as you are on your scrapbooking journey, okay? But a self-healing mat, generally, if you have one that's at least 12 by 12, ours are 13 by 13, which I find to be very helpful. That will help you center your papers and do a whole lot more. Okay, so you want 1 inch on either edge, and this is going to be centered right in the middle at 10 inches, okay? So then we're going to take our green striped paper. This is 12 inches by 6 inches, remember, with the flamingos on the back. Hi, flamingos. And we're going to add our adhesive again down each 12-inch edge, and just a tad in the middle. And this one is going to go right up against the edge of this, and the outer edges will match up with the top and the bottom of our green palm base sheet. Okay, so if you're working on your own base sheet and you don't have a base sheet underneath you, just make sure that this paper matches your top and bottom edge of your paper, of your page, sorry. The top and bottom edge of your page. And that will solve, or that will be where it needs to be. Okay, all right. My paper, for some reason, I was having it buckle, so I was trying to fix it. Anyway, there we go. Now I have a tiny little gap there, but I think my photo is going to cover it, so I'm not really worried about that just now. All right, then we're going to take one of our 1/4" by 12" pieces, okay? And these are going, this one's going to go all the way up that side. I'm going to use my repositionable adhesive because a 1/4" is way wider than I want to, or way narrower than I want to fuss with. So I'm just going to use my repositionable, and then I don't have to fuss with much, okay? So then we're going to add this piece right up the edge of that 12 by 6" piece. Just like so. All right, and then we're going to take our 1" floral, and that one's going to go up the outside and be centered. So I'm going to add some adhesive going right along the edge of this, and then just add my adhesive right down the middle, my little bits. That takes a lot of the fuss and strain out of this when you do it that way, I have found. And you might have your own way of doing it, which is totally fine. Okay, so then we're going to take our 1" piece and we're going to center it once again so that we have 1" above it and 1" below it, and it's lined up with the very edge of our cardstock, that nice 1/4" piece of cardstock. All right, so just like that. And there is our base for the left-hand side. Okay, we're going to come back in just a second and do more on that piece, but we're going to set that up there for now. Bring down the piece for the left-hand side. Okay, so then I'm going to turn it so that I can use this edge as my center. And I'm going to line that up on my mat. I'm going to take my other floral piece, and I want this one to go this direction. So we'll add our adhesive to the back. Tiny smidgen in the middle. And we're just going to center this again with 1" above and 1" below, and the edge right at the edge of the paper here in the middle. Okay, then we're going to take our 1/4" piece, our other 1/4" piece, and our repositionable adhesive. And this piece is going to go right up the edge of our floral paper. And we're going to need to trim this piece. And I probably should have mentioned that before. They had us trim it when we were cutting it initially, but I failed to do so. So I'm just going to trim it now so that it is 10 inches. So you can trim it before you put it down, or you can trim it after. Either way works, okay? All right, so now we need to revisit our hummingbirds. What they want us to do is they want us to use this piece that's part of the cardstock as a shadow behind the birds that we have punched. Okay, so we're going to punch or put some repositionable adhesive on the back side, the floral side of the border. So the yellow side is up, and we've got the plumeria. Sorry, it's not called plumeria. It's called deep orchid, and I keep calling it plumeria. Plum. So we're just offsetting it by a 1/16 of an inch, making the deep orchid a shadow behind, above the yellow. Okay, so just like that. And then we're going to take each one of these cute little hummingbirds, and we're going to, you can either go ahead and just adhere them flat, or you can take some foam squares and pop them up. I'm going to pop mine up because I just feel like it's going to help give a better three-dimensional effect. Okay, so you can see what mine look like and then decide whether you want to do that too. I'm just going to put our smallest little foam square right there on his body, and then I'm going to take and I'm going to line him up just slightly below the rest of the yellow part of his body. Okay, and that's going to give a nice pop of color. It's going to separate him off the page and help him look a little bit more alive, which is the cool part, right? Okay, so there's that one. We're going to do the same thing with the other side. So we've got our other two. There's our base. We're going to flip this one over, add our repositionable adhesive. This is going to be, as I said before, 1/8 of an inch down. So that you just get a hint of that color to accentuate that pretty gold paper. Then we're going to take each of these little hummingbirds and add a foam square to his tummy. And he'll want to fly off the page just like the rest of his friends. So again, he's going to go just a hair below the yellow or the gold behind him. It's a little tricky with the foam square because it's hard to see where he's going to go. So kind of just have to be brave and stick him down. Okay, so there are those two guys. I'm going to keep this out. Stick that up there. All right, let's grab our first, or this is the right-hand side of the page. All right, we're going to grab a couple of mats and get them situated before we situate our hummingbirds. Okay, so we've got this mat that's going to be horizontal. We've got a purple mat that's going to be vertical. Oh, before we do that, we have one other step I'm just remembering also. All right, we have a green mat that's going this way, and then our circle is going to go over here as well. Okay, so, but before we do that, we have some 12-inch stickers to arrange. So I'm going to grab my 12-inch sticker sheet. Now on the sample up here, you can see that they've used the flower chain sticker, this one right here with all those colors, those beautiful colors, and we could do that too. Or I think because we've got so much color already with this paper that we're using, I think I'm going to go with using these bamboo blocks or poles down here instead. And also it's just something different, so it gives you an alternate option so you can see what it might look like using something else. Okay, so we're going to use our bamboo, and I'm going to go ahead and put my two base sheets together to do this, just because I think it's going to make this a little easier. I'm hoping it's going to make it a little easier. Okay, so I'm going to line those up the best I can, and then I'm going to go ahead and move or put my sticker down going all the way across both pages. Okay, so it comes all the way out here to the edge of the orchid, the deep orchid cardstock that we have, and then we're going to go across the paper with the sticker halfway, just going right across the edge of that, the edge of the paper right here. Does that make sense? Where the paper's coming together. We're going to snip it off right here. The reason we're going to do that is because I want to put this bit all the way out here. Now this may be, actually I'm going to put this coming in from the outer edge of that 1-inch piece, right on the seam. I'm not going to worry about this because it's likely I'll have an embellishment there, or my hummingbirds are going to cover it up. So I'm not terribly worried about that, but what else am I going to do with that? It's probably going to get tossed, right? So I might as well just use it. Okay, so then I'm going to get the other 12-inch sticker that matches, and we're going to go across the top. And we're going to do a similar thing with the top. So we're going to go from this edge over here, which is harder to see, admittedly. Okay, that looks pretty close to the edge. Okay, and we're going to go all the way across. And then I'm going to do the same thing here. We're going to trim it. And then I'm going to put this coming in from the very edge out here. Whoops, I didn't do that very well. It's not straight at all. Go be straight. Come on. Well, still not straight, but better. Okay. Now we can proceed with our mats and get those situated. Okay, so I'm just going to add, and I'm doing repositionable adhesive. If you're not sure you like the position of these mats, then by all means just put a tiny bit of repositionable adhesive right in the middle, and that way you can move them around and have no issues with that. Okay, so I'm going to put this 1/4 of an inch in from the center, and I'm lining the top of it up just below that sticker we just placed. In your sample here, it looks like they've covered up the sticker completely, so I may need to adjust that and move it up a little. I'm not sure. It's looking like I either cover it up at the top or I cover it up at the bottom. So, and that sticker is a little wider, so I think I don't really have a choice. It's going to get covered up. I'm going to all right, well, let's see. We're going to just barely cover it up with the bottom one, and I'm going to move this upper one up just a tiny bit. So it looks a little more the same as the bottom. So you can just barely see that sticker underneath, okay? Then we're gonna go ahead and add this other green stripe, and we need to add our circle. But before we add the circle, let's just go ahead and add our green stripe. And then this guy is going to go about 1/8 of an inch from the border at the top and 1/8 of an inch from the mat to the side here. Okay, so like that. Then I'm going to take my border that we designed and punched, not flamingos. Those are not flamingos. That's silly. My hummingbirds. And I'm going to place them all the way out to the edge out here, and then their wing is going to be about 1/8 of an inch from that top mat there. Okay, so we're going to place that there, and then our circle. Mind you, I've got repositionable adhesive. I'm going to make sure that the areas that are not adhered are the areas that are covering the photo, and that way I can still slide a picture underneath my cardstock. Okay, so we're going to place that guy underneath the bill of the hummingbird, just a tad. I'm going to pull it back so I can see a little more of that flower and almost see the whole bill of the bird. And I'm going to go with that for my circle. Okay, so it's roughly maybe 1 inch into this mat, and it's almost halfway down on this mat. But there's no way to avoid that unless I move the mat, which I could move the mat. And since it's on there with repositionable adhesive, I can even move the mat later when I have my photos. So I'm going to snip these stickers apart so that my layout pages are separated. All right. And we'll come back to do embellishments on that paper, on that page. For now, we need to do the mats on this page. So we're going to have 2 vertical purple mats. One that is about there. The green one is going to be about there. And then this one is going to be roughly even with the green. There's no real way to avoid the fact that you've got green here and you've got the matching paper on top as a mat, okay, unless you flip it over, and then this would be an outlier, so I don't recommend that you do that. It's just one of the casualties of design that this is the way that this turned out, where that mat matches. You could get one of the designer mats and replace it with that if you would prefer. Whatever is going to make you the most happy, but that is just kind of the way that cookie crumbles. Okay, so we're going to take our orchid and we're going to place our orchid just over that gap between our sticker and the 1/4 inch piece of the orchid. And it's roughly maybe 3/8 of an inch that way of the edge of that 1/4 inch strip of orchid. All right, if that helps you line that up a little bit better on yours. Okay, we're going to just make it as straight as possible and go with that. Then the green one is even with the top of that. And I'm like, let's see, I'm going to turn mine around in hopes that my stripes are a little bit more not aligned, so we get a little more definition there. Not a lot of definition, but a little more. And then we've got our other cardstock mat. And this guy is going to be in line with the edge of our green mat up here, okay? But before you put that all the way down, you can put this one, and this one down, and then this one, don't push that down just yet. We're gonna slide our hummingbirds underneath there and create our cute little accent border down here and on the corner. Okay, so it's going to go underneath this mat and all the way to the edge. All right. Okay, so we've got that down. Now we need some embellishments. So let's put our 2 pages back together and we'll decide where we should embellish these 2 pages. The designer who created this, I don't know who it was, so honestly I'm completely unbiased that way. I have no idea who did this particular collections project recipe, but they do tend to have their embellishments kind of all over the place in this layout. And I'm not sure that I really like that. So it's kind of up to you how you enjoy doing your embellishments. This area down here, as they've shown in the example up here, this is perfect for doing your journaling. And on such dark background as this, I would use a white pen and draw or journal all about my photos right here in this space over here on this side. They've got embellishments here and here and here and here. Oops, sorry. I would say probably right here. And then also right here between the photos, because this photo is scooched over just a little bit more. So, and then they have used this area down here as their title spot. So it is kind of up to you how you want to proceed with your embellishing. I'm definitely wanting to cover this spot down here where I have that gap in the little bit of border. But so I think I am going to use this area down here, either this area as my title or this area for my title, and then add an extra flower or something right in here just to kind of cover that gap and make it look a little more finished. Let me grab my stickers and my embellishments, and let's decide here. We've got a few things we could use as a title in here. My soul is happy, sun and fun, tropical vibes. A couple of smaller things that could be used in embellishment clusters. We've got this is the life, there's sunshine in my soul, love in the vibe, go outside and adventure, tropical snapshots, my happy place, paradise, stunning views, love it here, total bliss. So lots to choose from where this is concerned. I think for me, I like the size of the This is the Life here for the space that I want to put a title into. So I think I may go with that. And it gives a nice variety of colors in it also, which is good. And I can add one of these flowers into that space, or maybe 2, into that open space down here to just sort of carry the theme down a little bit further. Okay, so I'm going to grab my foam squares and I'm going to add a foam square to each side of this, and a little bitty or a smaller one on top and bottom. That. Then I'm going to grab my powder and dust this so that the sticker doesn't stick down. You know, it's amazing when we used to not have this powder available, I used a ton more foam squares, just trying to keep the sticker from sticking down. And I know other people used alternative products to keep their stickers from sticking, but I just figured if I put enough foam squares on there, then it wouldn't stick down. But really, I think it's better to not have quite so many foam squares. So I'm just going to tuck this slightly behind my hummingbird so that he's emphasized just a little bit more, or he or she. All right, and we've got that. And then I'm going to need a couple of these beautiful blossoms. And we've got a purple one in this sticker, so probably the other colors would be nice. I could just use that sticker, and then I could save these others for something else. And it won't matter that we've still got the purple one as the emphasis there. I think it'll be fine. So let's put a foam square on the back of this guy. We'll just use one big one. How's that? And then powder him. Okay, so we'll send, in fact, I'm just going to kind of turn this a bit, and we'll tuck him up underneath there. All right, so there's one cluster kind of that we've got going. What else do we want to use in this layout? I think I think I'm going to use these guys just because I think they're so pretty, and they add so much color. I love those leaves. They're just so pretty. We can tuck part of it underneath and have part of it above, and then do a little something or maybe just put it up kind of underneath the bird and add some more flowers down here. What flowers should we add there? Or maybe we can add the little toucan on there. I like his beak and how pretty it is. And then we can do something else up here. Like, it would need to be kind of right in the middle here, or up here, something small. Maybe something like that. The camera. I think I'm going to add this little guy. Let's see. How can we incorporate those two? Maybe just like that. I'll put this one back. All right. I'm gonna pop this guy up with a couple of these. This one no, I need to pop this guy up too, only because he's going to overlap that photo and I don't want him to stick to anything. So we're just gonna put that foam square kind of in the middle. Because these are embellishments, they are not sticky, so I don't have to worry about dusting them, which is good. Okay, then we can put this in an area where we know that that foam square is not going to compromise this photo. And then we'll add this guy in, kind of just flying into the lens of that camera, like that. All right, I think that's going to be good. I'm not going to worry about trying to put embellishments in all the places where she's got embellishments, because I feel like it's too much. But that's because that's kind of how I scrapbook. So I'm just not going to worry with that. All right. So if you you can do your stickers however you like, your embellishments however you like. But I hope that this is a layout that you will choose for your albums. I think it's really nice. Barring the mistake that I made with following the directions that they gave in cutting this piece down here, I would highly recommend you do not cut this piece. And then simply, if you want to trim it off, you can trim it off later, depending on where you decide to put this this mat. But because I had cut this at 5 inches, because that's what the directions told me to do, I had to line these two mats up. Probably didn't have to, but I needed to line these two mats up. So I could not put any kind of an embellishment in here because this mat had to cover the edge of this. I hope that makes sense. So that's why my embellishments look so drastically different on this particular portion of the layout. Hopefully, if you want to put an embellishment here, don't trim this down here. Then you can move these two mats wherever you want, and you can adjust that. All right, thanks so much for joining me today. I hope this has been fun, and I hope this is a layout that you will create in your own albums so that you can enjoy it. And until next time, I hope you have many more creative moments, and I hope you have a wonderful new year coming up. I will see you again at the end of the week. Take care.